Star Wars, as it was originally titled when it was released back in 1977. Not only was this film so wildly creative and unique from the others at its time, this movie drove in millions of viewers continuously for months on end. And for this time, it was considered the second highest grossing film in Hollywood, just under Gone with the Wind. But it wasn't just the movie being in theaters. There was a lot of merchandise, something we still deal with today, as this one little film has grown into a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Today, we're not looking at the franchise, just the thing that started it all.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Enough of this. Vader, release him.
The plot shouldn't be a surprise to you, since it's one of the most famous movies out there, and it's super old. A young man named Luke Skywalker discovers his calling of exploring the galaxy, being drawn by the mythical, magical Force, a natural ancient power practiced by the Jedi and Sith. Along the way, Luke has his family killed and doesn't cry about it. Hitchhikes with a geriatric hermit, Obi-Wan Kenobi, claiming to be a Jedi, the ever-annoying droid, 3CPO, the beloved badmouth droid, R2-D2. Seriously, he's got the attitude of a teenage girl who just learned to swear. The suave, gunslinging smuggler Han Solo, who steals the whole show. And his adorable pet bear Chewbacca. Sorry, Chewie fans, I love him too. Very emotional, he is. Together they fly through the stars to save Princess Leia, only to find themselves in the crosshairs of the evil Galactic Empire, led by their asthmatic, paraplegic Sith Lord Darth Vader. Look, it's called Star Wars. It's in its name. Where does the story take place? In the stars. What are they going to do? Going to war. The subtitle came years after the huge success of this film, which is weird to me because it was always called Episode 4 or New Hope. It's strange to me that there was a point in history where the OG fans had to fix their terminology. And even more controversial, being the first installment in the entire franchise. George Lucas was like, yeah, I want to start halfway through the story. This distinction is a lighthearted joke within the community, but George Lucas grew up in Modesto, California, so that might explain his backwards thinking. The story beats and rhythms are heavily influenced by the famous psychologist Carl Jung, who mapped out the hero's journey, the process of storytelling where the main character has to go through a series of trials before prevailing as the hero by the end. The hero's journey is not exclusive to Star Wars, but is practiced commonly within Hollywood. Like seriously, any action story is just a retelling of this pattern. It's not a negative thing to have this structure either, but it does limit what the viewers see within this vast lore. And my god, the lore is ever expanding. The hero in this tale is Luke. He's young, he's ambitious, and if he doesn't get what he wants, he will cry about it. But nonetheless, Luke goes through the steps required to become a hero at the end of the movie. Which, it's a weird award ceremony? Why do I bring this up? Because it's a bizarre spot to leave off on, and no other episode ends this way. You kinda get the feeling that they didn't know if this was gonna be successful or not.
You must learn the ways of the Force, if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
Alderaan? I'm not going to.
So the acting is not good. I know I keep picking on Luke as a bad character, but a simple understanding is that Mark Hamill was 25 when he played Luke. And when it comes to acting, you either have the talent or you need to take the years to hone it. Here, Mark hasn't come close to figuring out what kind of actor he will be. Carrie Fisher is young, but she delivers her lines and is a damsel in distress. So there aren't many lines for these types of roles other than shouting when you're being attacked. Then you get Harrison Ford, a carpenter Lucas hired to fix up his kitchen. True story. Now, with Harrison, he has talent. He knows exactly what his characters are going to be. There's a slight difference between Han and Indiana Jones, but when the call comes, they're both horny guys that can fight back. If you ask many OG fans about who their favorite character is between the three in Star Wars, it's always Han. He's not the main character. Another thing to point out is that we have 3 protagonists, another super common thing within the industry. Look at Harry Potter or Shrek. Where I'm going with these insights is how influential this film was on the industry, that ever since 1977, Hollywood has been using this formula too much. When the studio tries to make a film, usually in developmental hell, they'll soft reboot the project and force it into this formula, and the formula can ruin a story if not mapped out properly. What is the most impressive thing about this movie? It's the special effects and sound design. Even by today's standards, they still look and sound good. I know Lucas has come back and touched up on some things, more modern CGI. But that's not what I'm talking about. In the opening sequence, we see an Imperial ship shooting at the rebels. Large laser beams dart across space with the corresponding colors. Then the stormtroopers break past the door and there's a gunfight with more lasers and unique sounds to differentiate that those weapons function like our real-world guns. There's enough done here to make them stand out as their own type of weapon. Speaking of weapons, you get introduced to the greatest sci-fi sword ever, the lightsaber. Say what you want about them, but I've always loved them. I used to run around in the neighborhood and fight other kids with my lightsabers, until the cops told me to stop scaring the children. Now, the saddest part is that the lightsaber isn't very prominent in this episode. Yeah, we see Luke in his training with it, and there's only one fight scene between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. How could this not be regarded as the best fight choreography of the century? I honestly can't deal with this lame fight, and I think the issue was in Sir Alec Guinness, who plays Old Ben or Obi-Wan Kenobi. Alec is a great actor. If you haven't seen the 1950s classic The Bridge Over the River Kwai, now that's a movie that will make you change your opinion on times of war. Anyways, Alec is very old here. He also hated this movie. Like, it's well known he didn't like it. He appears later in the series as a Force ghost, only because the money was good. The vehicles, not just Luke's Landspeeder, more popularly called the Soro Sub X-34. Landspeeder, duh. I looked that up and thought, wow, here's another example, like the laser blasters, combined with the lore of this galaxy beautifully demonstrated before us. This thing is awesome, and the fact that it's just a beat up car with the top chopped off and tin can turbines hot glued on the back, but the real magic is what makes it float. It's a mirror that's hiding the tires and reflecting back the sand. I'm sure some CGI was used to touch up, but people have been able to replicate this effect in their own garage. You've got the X-Wings and the TIE Fighters, and of course the Millennium Falcon. These are not real aircrafts, but what you are seeing on screen as they fly through space are miniatures on sticks being pushed along, tying these shots with interior stage locations to bring it to life as you get to see the pilots fly them. So Star Wars, or Episode 4 New Hope, is considered a classic film and beloved by many, for reasons why kids like space or deep fantasy lore-driven worlds. It's an Academy Award winner, and it's a box office dominator, and all I can say is, this movie sucks!
Season. Yeah, that's what she said when Biggs and Tank left.
Where are you going?
Looks like I'm going nowhere. I have to go finish cleaning those droids.
Look, I was in film school taking screenplay writing 101. We were tasked with 2 movies to sit down and watch and write and report how they apply to the lesson. One was Joe versus the Volcano, and the other was Star Wars. I walked out of that class so stoked. My homework is to watch Star Wars and talk about this awesome franchise. So that night, I sat down with my family in the theater room and we re-watched it. It's terrible. Why would I want to go on this journey, especially if our main character is a whiny bitch? Luke really gets me in a mood, and even today when I see him, I audibly groan. Obi-Wan, who is his mentor figure, and lore dumps on everyone. He is old and almost useless, and when the actors don't care, again, why should I? This is just sad and pathetic. You basically have an actor who can't act and one who doesn't care. And the story is about going on an adventure with these two, who run into more interesting characters because the 2 of them are worse than watching paint dry. 3CPO is annoying beyond all hell, but that's his character. Then Vader. Dude, the only thing scary about him is his theme song, The Imperial Death March. Maybe for kids of the 70s and 80s this guy was menacing, but I see this guy and I feel like he needs a better fashion designer. Vader does something cool called a force choke on one of his own officers. That's stupidly reckless. Only a child would think to act in such extremes and absolutes. When we get to Leia, we are told she is a princess, but all she does is yell at our heroes or watch pixel graphs in a control room. This isn't a princess, it's just another girl. When you say princess, we all expect a regal presentation of an aura, maybe of divinity if you will, and the bra thing. Carrie Fisher was told not to wear a bra on set because they don't have them in space. Men are pigs. The final fight is actually one of the things that I can't put down. When Han and Chewie come back in the 4th quarter and help Luke take out the Death Star, I felt this stinging sensation in my nose and a tear swelled in my eye. That's how you save the day, with your butts. But at the end, the whole thing with the ceremony. First of all, how lame, and finally we get to see Leia as a princess. But Luke, Han, and Chewie, what are they gonna do with these medals? Luke's the last Jedi. He's got more important things to be doing. And who's he gonna show it off to? Han and Chewie are smugglers. No vagabond space cowboy would care to have this gifted to them, and they'd probably sell them, then be caught with them, or even identified as a rebel. Vader doesn't die because we need him in the sequel, so he just flies away into space.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
My final verdict for this is a 2 out of 5. Just be happy this isn't rock bottom of the list. Star Wars Episode 4 New Hope shouldn't have been strong enough to stay in the box office like it did, and to spawn a franchise so powerful even Disney had to get in. What I find interesting about this movie is that Episode 7 is almost one-for-one remake of this story. Yeah, different characters, somewhat, but it is weird to reboot the franchise with a similar movie plot. But that's a discussion for a different video. Okay, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't, hit that like button, and attack me in the comments. I know it's coming. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.